the culture. In this one, also very little illustrations. So maybe this one does have some somewhat accurate representation of some points. It would be hard to. Yeah, like you can have like the hockey, the winter pictures, cooking with kids, which those kind of things, and currency, Helsinki thing. So I mean, there's several like the boss, and probably they talk about if they write downtown or not, and so I believe that, for example, this book does cover, even from the cover, like skating on the ice. That's like something not possible to do somewhere else. So yeah, I think it does cover a lot. But then probably another thing that is maybe not so much covered related to the actual language is, like I mentioned, the actual way of speaking. It's a big shock when one has to do a lot of effort for learning or understanding some grammatical structure of the language, and then notices that is not actually used in the spoken language.
Only old people use it.
Exactly. So I don't know if like maybe part of that aspect is missing in a way.
Yeah.
Also this does give a bit of influence, picture about the whole culture and place, but I think maybe there's a bit more informal aspects that are missing, and I don't really know how those could be communicated, but maybe with some complementary like audio or video from current situations. Yeah.
Okay. Do you see yourself represented here?
Well.
As a foreigner.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking like. Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about it.
And also, do you think it's important?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's evident that one as a foreigner when moving here has like a lot of different needs, and of course, learning the basics of the language starts helping to fulfill some of those needs, but still I believe that, for example, none of these books covers many of the difficulties faced by people who is learning the language. Maybe in a way it would be interesting to see a bit more of those issues, or people that has been through the process of learning the language and read about their experiences and things, how they went, and that is something that I believe that none of these books cover, but that could be interesting because maybe could help in a way to know that, to build some kind of empathy and get a bit more patience that it's a process that might have some steeper curve for learning.
Do you think like having foreign Finnish speakers would help?
Yeah, I think definitely it could help. As I believe that with many of these, one can practice a subject, understand, okay, there is this grammatical rule, you can apply it in this way, and then you do that isolated exercise in a way. But there is very few practice that integrates all the knowledge that you have seen on a continuous basis, and probably like listening and spoken exercise, like listening and speaking exercises could be really useful to reinforce that. And probably it's maybe even nicer and easier if it comes from someone who is not a native in a way. I don't know if I think that happens in many languages, that somehow you feel more comfortable for practicing some basics when you are not intimidated by
by a native
speaker. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it has to be still correctly in a way that you don't want to learn wrong things, but probably some kind of exercises and listening to other people who is not a native could be interesting and handy at times, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is your best and your worst experience in language?
Sorry, yes, about that thing actually, yeah, recalling about course, there's a lot of web resources, and while preparing for the UKTST, I have seen a lot of content that is developed by ULE, where there's foreigners talking about different subjects, and actually it's, in my opinion, listening to that kind of these foreigners speaking and talking about their points of view.
Is it contemporary?
It's contemporary, yes. Yeah, well, I haven't seen it I just saw it online. I'm not familiar with any book, but the professor provided us with the links, so we would go to this kind of, you know, like, what is it? I forgot. Selko Utiset, and there's I think within Selko Utiset there's a lot of content which contemporary, which it's exactly has these foreign people talking about their everyday lives and points of view. And I think that's interesting to hear. But yeah, sorry, you were already in the...
No, it's fine, perfect. Yeah. Anything else that you would like to add on that?
Yeah, well, just that many of the maybe listening exercises and that, which there's a few, but I believe there could be more. Most of them are basically, they require the teacher to provide the content. And I believe that exactly like relevant content about ongoing news and current subjects could be really interesting and a good practice for people, for ongoing practice. And I've seen that exactly like this kind of ULE sites and other prep material that it's available online does have some of this kind of audiovisual material that it's, but basically it's really hard as a foreigner to learn about this material if you don't get the links by someone.
Yeah,
you know?
If you're not pointed out.
Exactly. So I do believe that it would have been nice that if here I could see that on an ongoing basis, check the news or comments from this website, and I could do more practice on my own without having the need of having the teacher playing the recording.
Yeah.
That's what I could
of
do.
1984.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's very true.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'll ask you this.
Yes.
It's the second to last. Your best and your worst experience in a Finnish language course.
Best and worst. Well, I would say that it's painful, especially at the beginning, or there's like some stages while learning the language where it's a bit more painful. I remember my first Finnish course was an intensive 3-month course that I arrived to Finland directly from abroad. Like one day before
welcome wagon.
Exactly, and it was a course in the university using this book, and I was really coming from just for the first time to Finland, and I had no previous idea of Finnish, and it was a Finnish level 1, and everything was in Finnish. Like, since I entered there, everything was told in Finnish, and all the book material was in Finnish. And then I kind of, I understand that it's good to use the local language, but when you have really zero idea of the language, I believe that I believe like 2 or 3 weeks, I just couldn't get almost anything. Yeah, and all the students in the course were foreigners that had been living in Finland for 2 years, who maybe haven't studied anything, but they were familiar with some vocabulary, with some context, with the culture, and they could perfectly understand the professor speaking in Finnish. But for me, I would say that was one of the worst ones, because was kind of, I believe that I probably would have started learning more or better if the book would have had some references in English.
Yeah.
You know, like, of course, when there were pictures, then I can learn that maybe omena is omena and
Yeah.
some of the vocabulary, yeah, that was handy. But still, probably, I think on the side of this, and I went and I bought another book. So I would read on my own, like exactly, like, for example, like this one.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was reading the Finnish for Foreigners book.
Okay.
But basically, that other book I could read and, okay.
Which was like having a handy dictionary.
Yeah, basically.
Or phrase dictionary.
But on that moment, the course was not really designed for people who, I don't know, they should it should be Finnish 2 or Finnish 1 for people with previous experience. But it was anyways, I believe that after that course I really learned a lot. So, but I just remember that it was one of the most painful. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the best experience in a Finnish language course, I don't know, probably